holiday shakes, and I was like, no, these are way better.
The eggs taste way better.
And the trees and the ghosts and the bats. Yeah.
The ratio's different.
And I think, okay, I'm going to stop eating those. And then the next holiday comes out. Bad.
It's in that room right there. It's like
You never had it?
I have. I've had it since last year. I forgot.
So good.
I know what it is.
And you know what? I don't care. It's protein. It's protein.
Maybe that's what it is.
I'm sorry, I just bumped your camera.
You did. You better be.
Sorry. Did I need to move back?
No, it's good.
Okay, guess what, Bill? I finally paid, my son's.
It's a cracked screen cell phone.
Tell the financial
The cell phone has a cracked screen, but the camera works perfectly, wirelessly.
In all fairness, yeah, perhaps to say about a computer, I don't use it anymore in my basement. I'll see my best to wait my ear. If you get some new email, in it, it's really fun. Somebody else got it. Hey, that's funny, but still. He's gonna have this problem a couple weeks ago where none of our invites were showing up on our email.
I put mine like on automatically. I don't even know what people want to do like this time, honestly. They forward that to me and then they come over and say,
Hi.
and they do.
I saw your email again. I forwarded that from somebody who creates the flyer, so I sent it to him like, I didn't even look to see the flyer was.
That's all automatic.
Forwarded it on.
That's okay, no worries. So, there must be a switch down control. That's pretty cool.
Oh wow, that is really
Everybody but Brian's here, so.
zoomed in.
All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Sorry, I'm a little slow getting here tonight. Thanks for being here. We're going to open our work session with a facilities discussion, and then after the facilities discussion, we're going to talk about the superintendent interview schedule and what that's going to look like. I know last time we met, we planned a work session for the 19th, I believe, of April. Is that right? Is that what you have on the calendars? March 19th. Thank you very much. But I think that'll be too soon. So take that off your schedules, and after our discussion with superintendent, we'll decide when those meetings should happen. Okay. All right. Let's jump right into facilities.
Okay, we just wanted to, just touch base with this again, just to see where you're at. But one of the reasons we want to talk about facilities is, I can't remember if we talked to just Tiffany and Danielle, or just who all knows about the $500,000
We need
donation.
to review that. That needs to be.
I'd like to review that tonight.
And so any questions, that'll be brought up now, we'll go over that, and then we did it now so that we can ask questions and have it figured out before we go into the actual order.
And we can discuss it there as well, but it's just time to have enough
Yeah.
time to discuss it.
Yeah.
So you want me to go ahead and talk about that? So, we've got Clay, the athletic director for Bear River High here behind me, and also Mr. Lee, the principal, and they're here to make sure we get, I think it's a timeline to begin with, and of course, Neil is involved in this along with Keith and I guess, at this point in time. But in the, I believe, early fall, Clay, is that correct? He was approached by a gentleman.
Last spring.
Last spring?
Yeah.
So close to a year ago?
Yep.
Okay. And Clay, I can just sit here and recite what you told us. You mind explaining?
No, that's no problem. So about a year ago, it was in April, I had a gentleman that's an alum from the school contact me and say he has a trust and that he would like to meet with me about a significant donation to the school. So he drove up one day and we drove around the school and took him all over the place. He graduated in big late 50s, early 60s. We had a great time talking. He basically said, I would like to make a significant donation. For me, significant donation is $25,000, a fairly significant donation. So I was giving him some small projects. We talked about a few other things. He left. He called me back about 20 minutes later and said, hey, I don't think you understand. I'm talking about a significant donation. And I said, what is it? I don't know what that means. You're going to have to give me something there. And so he said, well, I'm talking $500,000. So at that point, I got to figure out, well, what is that? If you're going to give us that, what do we do with that? And so we talked. He and I talked back and forth. He happens to be his brother was the athletic director at the high school all the way through 1990. He was also a baseball coach at high school, and this gentleman had played baseball. So we talked several, and he said, well, I think I would like to do something for baseball. That seems to be where my love lies. I want to do something that is lasting. I'd like to see in high school, that I can pass down to my kids, all that. So we talked about a lot of those things. He felt like the best thing that he wanted to do would be to basically turkey and field on baseball, which is exactly how much it cost to get that. So that was big. As far as we didn't do anything. I immediately contacted Corey and Neil and he talked to them about what the process was, what it is. We actually didn't finalize any of it until after the truth taxation because we knew that if that went differently, we would have to do something different with what he wanted to do. And so, does that give you enough background? Is that where you need me to be?
I think that you've done well, and just an FYI, with working with Neil, what our process is when something's that significant, it gets donated to the foundation, and the foundation is kind of a pass-through for tax purposes. And when somebody donates to the foundation, they can be very specific on how to have that money spent on what purpose, and not just their wishes, but it is what we do to our basic foundation policy. And so when that money was put into the foundation, by then it was September, October, Thanksgiving by the time that happened. Okay, so that's where my third ball came into play. So at that time, as Clay said, putting turf on the infield at the high school baseball field is about $500,000. So everything was perfect. At that time, the plan was to also move the River High School softball field. And in doing so, I'm not sure what our plan was for the infield, but in policy and in timeline regulations, whenever you have to keep programs equal. And so it ended up being that in order to accept this money and use it towards infield at baseball, we had to, at the same time, what we're going to do for softball to make sure it's equal. And just an FYI, most of you have been on board wrong enough, probably, but Stephanie knows that we did go through a guideline issue at River High School 5 years ago, and we had upgraded. It was about athletic, equal opportunity athletic systems between the men's sport programs and the women's sport programs. So we had to do a lot of log rooms was the biggest one over there. And so we are aware that it can happen, and when the OCR says that everything's fair, that everything's fair. So instead of waiting to see what happens, rather better take this up front and try to see if we can make things fair and balanced again. So with that in mind, what Amy and Dave are here for tonight is talk about the possibility of accepting this, and then also and I just saw that in front of me, you know, the policy. 2100, thank you. It does say that in order to make this happen, they would have to ask us about twice as much money to make it happen on both fields. Is that pretty close, Blake?
Yep. Yeah, and in policy, under section 2, it talks about that we can request that there's a match for that, so that's where we would request that. Also that, you know, that you would accept it, so you accept the donation as well as we're asking for a match, so that we can have equal proposals on, not in a timeline situation, which wouldn't have had a timeline situation with the building was gonna happen. Now that that's maybe changing or whatever, we would be in that situation, so that's our request.
And I think part of the timing of this thing is such that I'm assuming, Blake, correct me if I'm wrong, that probably last out at Bear Rise baseball field this year. We'd like to get that started.
Yeah, there is a consideration with the person that donated the money. He is not a great help. He wants to see it done quickly so that his family knows it's him and he gets to see it.
There's no way to pull off a baseball season.
No.
If you get fiscal year July 1, probably the best time to do it because of the budgets and things.
Yeah.
And I know we've been through matches before and everything else, but it's pretty hard, unsolicited, to look to get $500,000 in the mouth. Is that $50 in the mouth? So I know it's a unique situation. But it's a situation, I just thought we talk about it now, so we could ask questions and see what it does give some, I think it's a significant enough amount of money. There's some naming rights there, whether it's, you know, it's this gentleman's name infield, or it's field, whether it's the baseball stadium, I don't know how you want
In
it.
our agreement with them, subject to board approval, initially he requested that the building be used after him for a period of 10 years. Subject to board approval.
So, any questions, anything David or Clay that I missed in explaining this situation?
Yeah, happy to answer any questions.
I guess my first question, I get people asking about this Title IX stuff. Is it dollar for dollar? Is it facility to facility? Like, how does Title IX work? How do you judge if it works or not?
Yeah, so Karina is now our Title IX coordinator that would oversee that. She's not here, but I was previously, and it's not dollar for dollar, but it is comparable facilities. And so, it's like comparable, you can't have a men's sport that has this ginormous, beautiful Taj Mahal type locker room and then have the female have bare bones. Is that
Closet space.
Yeah, so it has to be comparable spaces, and there's a lot of categories. It could be from equipment to facilities to access to restrooms. It could be a lot of different things that they could look at, and that's a discussion that I'm glad to get into Karina as well. It's pretty complicated about how deep that could go, and it is a federal. The OCR comes out and said you have to. I mean, it took us 2 years to get resolution. Had to work with Region 11, which is all the other teams in over in Cache Valley. I mean, it just didn't stop at Bear High.
That had to do with scheduling the games.
I mean,
all those games couldn't be just on Friday night. We had it.
Like girls' games had to have Friday night. It became pretty. It was pretty massive. And one thing they didn't do is they didn't come to Box Elder High. Certainly, if we were to have a second one, they could open up all facilities at K-12 and say, are we where we need to be? If it has something to do with athletics.
Okay. I forgot my hand on that. My next question though is, we do have other funds being donated along with, is that,
We have 550,000.
Yeah, but,
right?
So the 50,000 from someone else?
And is
yeah, a
that-
couple of donors instead of if we need it, and I haven't even gone out and solicited anything because we have, it just barely come up with the cost of these. I know several that will most likely help to bring some of that down in kind of donations, but I haven't done any of that, so I didn't wanna give that as, I feel like having money in the bank is a lot different situation than, oh yeah, somebody said they give whatever.
I guess my question is that, would we get those other donations, like this, the $500,000 one, he asked for a specific. The others, are they just happy for it to go towards either side, either baseball or softball, or is it
They're
just?
specific to where they want.
Awesome, okay.
Some would be baseball, some would be softball.
Okay.
Does the foundation help with any of this? Does the foundation help with any of this?
Not athletic.
Not athletics, foundation doesn't. We have some.
And then, I guess another question is like, doing these upgrades, it's nice. How does it benefit our facilities? How does it benefit the students? Does it make it so that the facilities get used more? Because I feel like that would be a good thing, like if we're able to use it.
In the board back, there's a motion, there's a recommendation that has background about that. Essentially, it would benefit our community as a whole, because our youth sports we use more often. In the wintertime, we can just spread snow off of it. We don't have to wait for it to dry out when there's a storm, we can be on it immediately. So we could allow our youth groups to use this facility more often and more regularly throughout the entire year.
So if you were to put that in a number, how often it's being used now versus how often it'll be used after?
I would say 30% or more.
You might double it.
You might not
Honestly,
see,
because
because
in the summer, here's the problem, in the summertime, I love to try and let, not me, we try to get as many people on our fields and our facilities as possibly can. I feel like that's an obligation for us. Well, baseball and softball fields are different. You can't just go out and play on them and not take care of them properly and have them still be playable for you. And so there's very few people that I can let use the fields that understand how to take care of the field well enough to be able to then continue that on through the summertime. So there are some teams that I train and they're able to do some things that way, but there's a whole lot of teams that would like to do that and be there, and we have turf. I don't have to worry about it. Neither do they. They come out, they play, they leave. It's over with. We lock the gate, and then there's nothing to be done on top of that. There's some minor grooming issues to do with a 4-wheeler and a thing we have on the back of it. It's just easy. There's also things like. I was looking at numbers, I asked the field guy to help me out. He said on a conservative estimate, just on a softball field, you'll save 1 million gallons of water. So you're looking at other resources that don't have to be used. That's just softball, that doesn't include the baseball field.
So in the long
I think I've asked this before, and I know the answer, but just to make sure, maybe we learned some things since we put it in the fields or the fields. From a monitoring standpoint, it's simply right, grass versus, because there is an upkeep for.
there's some upkeep.
Yeah.
As I was saying, it's much less because there's not to water it. And it's a 4-wheeler and brush off, maybe put some refreshments.
But as far as dollars, I'm talking about dollars, is this equivalent? Grass versus
Turf is more expensive than anything else, but you have where you sit, it's longer, more durable.
But year to year, because we're not paying for the water and the sprinklers.
Yeah, within 5 years, you're probably going to build this size, you're going to reduce the expenses.
5 years. And then you have to replace it eventually.
20 years.
And replace it, once the infrastructure's done, I asked that question too, he said to replace the turf, it's about 50% of your original cost. So once the infrastructure's done on the base, replacing the turf is really about half of what it.
So an area that's a little bit hard to put a dollar number on, that I think it's something that is, we do live in a desert. And we do know that it seems that we're getting less and less snow, and water's becoming more and more scarce, and so that's something that we ought to be considering too, is grass is great, but it costs a lot to maintain, and it takes a lot of water. We live in the desert, and a lot of water around us.
Later on, that's not good on summertime. It's not take care of for turf.
Well, you just, my own curiosity, and I think I know the answer, but around bases, do you still have dirt or sand?
No, it's all turf.
It's 100% turf.
Yeah, I mean, if you,
And in the batter's box,
if you want to, I mean, yes, everything it's all turf. That is the way that they do it now. They used to, so if you went 20 years ago, Salt Lake Community College put a turf on that field, but they left their base paths and the batter's boxes in the mound all dirt. Well, that ended up not lasting nearly as long as they thought it would, because the dirt migrated into the turf and it made it so that they had to actually go take it all out. It's all turf now. It's all built for that. And in fact, the way that they do baseball and softball fields now is they have a system for the mound and the plate, where you go in and it's got a logging system for the turf, and you remove that turf once because it wears out faster. Obviously, you have every inning you have somebody in the batter's box, and every inning you have somebody on the mound. So they get replaced for less than $500 every 4 or 5 years. They put those in, and those areas are preserved that way. It's all turf. There's no dirt on it at all. But in baseball,
Painted to be dirt.
correct. Yes, it's different color of turf. If you pull up the University of Utah's field, you can see it's a different color. But yeah.
So my question is this, like we always talk about athletes and injuries and things like that, is it safe, is it preferred? Do kids want that, or is that
It's
safe?
yeah, it's so I mean, safety wise, they wouldn't be in business if they weren't. Does that make sense? Because they are building facilities everywhere with turf.
Yeah.
The University of Utah just put a brand new baseball field in. That replaced Smith's Ballpark. That was a fantastic field, but the maintenance they couldn't. The university itself couldn't keep up with the maintenance they needed to be able to play on the field. So they felt like it was better to turf the whole field. So safety wise, I can't give you all the stats on that, but it's equivalent, and in fact, most of the time better. And I would say better on baseball and softball especially, because if you don't have someone that really knows how to take care of those fields, you get lifts, you get places where balls take bad hops. That doesn't happen with turf there. It's just what it is. And as far as playing on it, the kids love it. I mean, Tiffany can tell Thomas last year we played at Bountiful High School. We actually played Park City at Bountiful High School late in the season. It got to about the 4th or 5th inning, and it snowed almost a half an inch. We waited, it melted, and we played the game because they had turf. And so it was one of those situations where we were able to get those in. Oh yeah.
Can we clarify the cost to have, you said half, the $500,000 for the baseball field, is that same cost would be for the softball field, or?
I mean, I don't have a number, but it's close enough.
And can you tell us, is there doing both at the same time versus one
Yes.
now and the other?
There's definite savings if you do both of them. It's the same company doing it. It's the same thing that everybody has. More cases you buy something, the cheaper it becomes. So yeah, it's basically square feet on turf. That's what you're looking at.
Clay, I don't know what's, I think one thing we haven't mentioned is how much time people spend to maintain it. And I know that this is touching a little sensitive here, but I need you to talk to that.
Well, I mean, okay.
You know what I'm asking.
I do, and I don't want.
How long would it take to maintain?
Hopefully this won't come out as self-branded. I love to take care of fields. Like I go out on Sundays for 4 hours a night. We mow, we stripe. I love making sure that the softball field looks good. They play today. I mean, that's not a problem. But the amount of hours that are spent on those fields is very significant. I think Box Elder School District is extremely lucky to have like Jesse, myself, the 4 coaches that we have at both ends of the district that are willing to put that kind of time in for those fields, because it is a significant amount of time. It's not just, hey, I'm going to go out and spend 20 minutes, it'll be good. There's times where, Jordan, our softball coach, and I are out there for 6-7 hours working on one thing, then we finally get fixed, and then we go to the next thing. Same with Coach Haas, with making sure our lifts are good and there's not grass in the infield. I mean, it just takes forever. And not that we're not willing to do it, but at some point, your man hours are well above what they would normally be on just a situation.
And when they're not,
Yeah.
that's when injuries happen.
Absolutely, yeah. You don't have a choice. You have to maintain those, or you're going to be in a situation where you're going to get kids hurt. Yeah.
Bottom line is we've got this $500,000 donation, and we need to decide to accept it or not, right? And then to match or not. So are there any more questions for Clay or David?
Yeah, question, just some input. So, depending on where the rest of the discussion goes on facilities, if we're trying to go forward to try and get some support from the public for facilities going in November, I'm just concerned with the timing of this. I think that it's very gracious that somebody to offer $500,000, and very grateful for that. I'm just not sure if we then roll in some of the district money. And we found out when we did Bearford football turf, it wasn't a year or two, then Seller wanted it. So I just thought maybe a $500,000 match. We might end up having to do that at Seller too, so that they can, $5 million match. And
Here's the key with that, and I think we learned with Foxville and Shabbattville, is the money, if the money's in hand for us to match, that's one thing. If the money's not in the bank to match, we don't do it. We don't say Bearford's got something, so we'll go ahead and pay for the other, for Foxville if they don't have a $500,000 donation. Anyway, that would be my response to that. But that's a great lead into, let's talk more about, I know Danielle and I have spoken to everyone that you carried. Right, you two weren't able to get in
Send me a text so that I forgot to respond.
But so
Tell
I
you
think
about the donation.
yeah, so I think we know where everyone is going, thinking they'd like to, how they'd like to move forward with the facilities, and whether it goes to the ballot or what goes to the ballot in November, how that's all gonna work. I know, and I guess I could go through my list, but I'd rather, we're all just here, just tell me where you're at, and we need to kind of make it quick, so let's be precise. I'll go ahead and start. I would really like us, I don't want to wait for another year to start the Tremont Elementary School or the Discovery Elementary addition. We have got to help overcrowding for especially Lakeview on this end and for all of our elementaries on the north end. And to wait to put that on the ballot for a lease revenue bond. And Neil, I think you came prepared to tell us what our options are besides lease revenue bond. But if you'll wait until everyone's had a chance to voice, I'd like to see us get a loan, not a lease revenue bond, but the same type of loan that we paid for Golden Spike, the same type of loan we paid for the other schools that have been built recently. And go ahead and get going on those elementary schools, and then just leave the rest until we get more community input in the next couple of years to see where we're at as far as the high school builds and middle school leads, and that we put that on hold. That's my personal preference. Julie, do you wanna?
Yeah, I agree, like, we have to do something with the elementaries, and I think the sooner, the better. Like, it needs to happen now. And just because of I still feel like we need to have a long-term strategic plan, but I don't think we're in a position to do that right now because of our constraints and we need more community support. So I'm in agreement, we need to move forward with the Tremont Elementary and then a Discovery Edition, which will alleviate this south end. There's lots of, and that will have to do some rebounding, I'm sure, and some of those things on the south end to make those facilities livable, manageable, and kids in, not overcrowded spaces and can work. So I'm in agreement with what Tiffany said.
I'm in agreement too with these two, so I'm good for us.
When you said with the financing, what kind of financing were you thinking?
A loan, not a lease revenue loan. The same type of loan that was built at Golden Spike, used a loan for 10 million of it.
For half of it.
For $15 million. The same type of loan that, what other schools have been building? Was this built with?
This was built with actual federal.
Federal funds. Anyway, not a lease revenue loan.
So a private loan,
Yes.
and about how much?
The current estimated cost for elementary, one elementary, is about $38 million. Current cost for the building of the expansion of Discovery is approximately $15 million as well, which we can discuss about whether we get a loan for that or use existing capital reserves to pay for that. That's the estimated cost.
I guess I would need to get more information about using the private loan, what kind of interest rate that would be, and how many years
It would be a competitive market interest rate. So right now, rates are between 3.9 and 4% on a 20-year loan, a little shorter time period, and we can have a smaller, relatively lower interest rate. For example, Golden Spike interest rate is 1.75%.
So you said a shorter amount of time has a lower interest rate?
Correct.
But I don't think we're gonna get to school with like
1.75.
levels, because that was
We won't
like.
get that, but that was,
6 years ago.
for an example, at the time, mortgage rates were around 2.75 to 3%, and that one came in at 1.75. Municipal debt is a little more secure because we have dedicated income streams, which is subject to the income loss of the job, so there's less risk. But obviously, as you stretch your payment terms, the risk increases, and so they account for that. So if you, every 5 years, you increase your payment on average, the increase goes up right about 0.3%. So from 20 to 25, there's about a 0.3% increase on average.
And what, since you know what's the name of the loan at the beginning, what kind of loan is it?
So, for example, the Golden Spike one is called a real property lease. Essentially, it's collateral back loan that if we were to default on payments, that the bank would then take possession of our building. That's not a reality for us, but that's how that works. That's the mechanism how it works. That's commonly used across all forms of government for short and medium term loans.
Thanks for answering the questions.
And so the lease revenue bond petition, this is different than that.
Correct.
So that, it wouldn't apply to this.
If we have a slightly lower interest rate, in the past it was a much bigger gap, we call spread, but that spread's calmed down a lot recently, where there might be 0.1% difference between the two banks. So there's not a lot of difference of why you would want to go bond, because the advantages of it, the cost of it are not that much less than just doing a direct loan.
Timing is good.
Yeah.
So, my thoughts on facilities, as I've talked to people both in the district and in the community, is that, I think that we would get more support from the public if we were to, roll back the tax increase and then go out for a geo bond. And I think we would have support the public, from the public to do, the Tremont building, and then if we could, as Bill said, use some of our capital funds to do the, Discovery add-on. I think it would probably go over better to the public. So, and then looking downstream, I think we're gonna need that support if we want to go for, middle schools or another elementary. So anything that we can do upfront right now, trying to get all the support is in our future
I think, I know that the financial side of it, I don't wanna pay off the bond and then get that money so that it looks, I still have money. The 2,000, yes, that, because you can save, you can earn more interest. I feel like the community would appreciate, instead of rolling back the taxes, just being able to pay that off so that we're not in a debt right now. And then, I actually didn't know about the option with the elementary school together, because I supported putting it on the ballot and then holding off on the high schools. But I didn't know about the other option, so I hadn't thought about that. But I know how Tremont is struggling with their classrooms and what they're doing, so I support the elementary. So however we do that, I'm supportive of it. Is that everything that yeah.
Sure. Well, I can kind of get new to this new idea, so I don't know that I can, without some thought and better understanding of what we're talking about here, make a comment on that. I was supportive of going forward with the to the public to have them vote on the petition. But if the board and district are considering another option, I want to understand more about it. I think you're going to give a presentation, talk more about that, so I understand that. I am concerned, as Karen has stated, that I think our priority has to be the overcrowding in the kids in the schools. That's our number one priority. And to spend another $500,000 on turf, I'm not sure if that makes sense right now. So it's something, I'm not sure I can state a position yet. I need to think about it, learn more, understand better about what the options are, and I'm looking forward to hearing what Neil has to say about more options.
I could walk so much, but I don't want to give up for the kids. It's not fair for the ones that are there now and the ones that are coming. With the overcrowding issues, I do feel like, and I don't want to give up on moving in 8th grade, but I feel like it makes more sense to maybe put that on hold for a couple of years and work on an elementary for each side first. I don't want to only put West Tremont on the ballot because I don't feel like that's fair. And then in the past, if it's only something that benefits one side of the district. So I feel like it needs to be something on each end. I know we just talked about that this is athletic facilities do not have to be that way, but for elementary overcrowding, I don't feel like it's fair to do one and not the other. I also want to learn more about the loan option. I truly understand that the public wants to have a say, but I feel like it's not in the best interest of the students, which is what the board is here for. That is our purpose, is to make decisions in the best interest of students, and it's not in the best interest of construction on 4A when it could start now. Do you want to tell us about those loan options?
The loan officer is essentially direct loan. Interest rates, as I said, between, for example, on a 20-year, it would be between 3.9 and 4%. Depending on how much you borrow, the payments are going to be probably right around $1.5 million over that time period. With the payments depending on the length of the loan that you choose, obviously it's floating down, depending on the length of the loan. But it's really within our ability to do this, legally and financially. Just depending on how we want to structure these projects.
Is that
There are lenders willing and able. I get contacted all the time by banks asking about my financing needs, or I say I have a position, but our district's financing needs, aside from the ability to have financing needs, often they don't retain those, but there are lenders willing and able to do this. It's a common thing for small projects in other foreign government cities and towns and other school districts for small projects to finance these
types of projects to be able to, give you examples, Salt Lake City, they're more excited to get solar from Newport to them. And so they're going to use this methodology to put solar onto the buildings.
So my question is, like the length of the loan and interest, like what's the best record? Like 20 years sounds like a long time for, like if we have, excuse me, if we have the money to pay a bigger loan payment and have a lower interest rate and pay it off sooner. To me, I mean, that's just how I think. I don't know if that's advantageous or not, but like what are the options as far as that goes?
The options are between 0 and 1 to 30 years. Gold by the 10-year loan program, go up to 30 years. It stretch that payment and have a small payment now, I'll just pay more interest all the time, but it gives you more flexibility financially. We have sufficient funds to make it a 10-year loan.
So a 10-year loan, just cutting the 20-year amount, not doubling it down to $3 million a year?
Is that, our ability to repay those loans, is that based on our current income with the tax increase?
Correct. And those sites will be coming off in about 5 years. So we're using capital funds raised prior to last year that we used to pay for that loan. So we get increased taxes to pay for the gold cycle. We have the funds now to pay for this as well.
Can we clarify, because a 10-year loan for $3 million is $30 million, but the project estimates 53.
Yeah, I just don't use that. The interest rate is also very weird, where we have an interest rate. I'm not somebody that's the 10-year rates right now, as I am with 20-year rates, so but we can maybe come back to you with a payment schedule, what it looks like as far as the 10-year. And also the amount we borrow changes as well. If we're just doing West Street Rock for $40 million, obviously that's a different amount than we do both projects, West Street Rock and Discovery for about $55 million.
Yeah, when you're saying $3 million that year, $3 million a year.
And interest is visible.
So are we getting, if you don't roll back the tax, are we getting $9 million a year?
Yes,
So what are you doing with the others?
this is all a new idea. The board needs to decide how the projects is going to prioritize. I would say that we have other infrastructure needs besides the building. We have sewer systems that are failing in many of our older schools. We have air conditioning needs. We have power upgrade needs. There are a lot of needs in our district. We have a lot of deferred maintenance in our district, and also older buildings that have required more maintenance in the future. So we would still be using it for building projects. If the capital money raised, it is restricted for capital projects only, and not directed to salaries or benefits or other things that are not for capital projects.
The other thing that we heard in our last meeting as we discussed this is we have 40 and a proposal for 4 or 6 more portables. It's going to increase the taxing on the buildings that are there. We're seeing that. So if we don't take care of some of those issues, we're going to have to increase our spending on those infrastructure failures as they increase.
And also, this portable is not the best, but safest, but it's kids or school safety factors.
Right, there's that too.
So there's non-monetary benefits as well.
I just can't remember exactly, but we spent $1 million on portables last year. Or requested for $1 million plus for next year.
We didn't put that on the.
Well, we have requested more,
Right.
which is so, and I don't remember something like 500,000 the year before. So maybe that's a couple of big, increase it on one of those. 6 more next year. So if we stop paying portables,
Would it be possible to hear from the superintendents where their thoughts are on this is where they would say our greatest need is going out for a direct loan?
I'd say 100%.
Plus, Keith had mentioned another issue is our secure vestibules in 4 of our buildings, and it's gonna cost 3, it's gonna cost, there's a couple of big projects, I'm thinking, not being facilities guy, coming in 2 or 3 of course, there, you know, Box Hill Middle School is gonna be a huge project to make that secure, if we do that right away. Both high schools need that done, and to do it the right way, if we're not gonna rebuild them, then we need to put the right money into it. We've got House Bill 84 from a couple of years ago that we're not following. People still are amazed that we don't have secure vestibules in some of our highest risk buildings. So there's that. That's $2 million right there.
And they've been working on it, just
Yes.
getting buildings up, doing
Yeah.
some every year. Right?
Yeah, and, you know, so I think, you know, getting a nice little balance in our elementaries on both ends is the perfect solution. And waiting for a year or two, once again, I fully believe that the amount of money it's going to cost in inflation will be far more than it's going to cost in interest if we wait to
That's a really tough thing to discuss this. But there is an obvious need in the amount of classroom portables that we have functioning in our district in elementary and secondary, or in elementary and secondary, but specifically in elementary. When you add up, as we've talked about last time, the number of portables on the north end, it more than fills West Fremont. When you count up the number of portables on the south end, it more than fills the Discovery Edition right off the bat, the first day that you're there. The immediate need is there, and it's not going away, and the learning environment for our students in elementary is not equitable, and it is not ideal. Putting off construction for Discovery and waiting until we could rebuild Lakeview will put us in the same situation we're at right now on the north end. We could rebuild, we can build West Fremont right now, and we still can't address the North Park aging issue. It's going to be full right away just from the number of students in classes, students we have in classes that we need on the north end. So if, like it's on the south end, you were to wait until we could rebuild Lakeview, again, the number of portables we have on the south end indicate that Lakeview would already be full day one, unless we switch and we build another school similar to the size of Golden Spike, but we know how our parents and our students and our faculty feel about an elementary school that size. So I think our best option is to move forward with the plan of West Fremont Elementary being built, Discovery Elementary being built to address the number of portables we have.
I would support that as well. It's hard to know what our public would say about that. As much as I love to say 9-12, we don't have $100 million to make that happen. So, I mean, I love it, and I think I can come up with thousands of reasons, but $100 million is one of the reasons we can't at this point. And whether that gets addressed ever, but we have 5, in my opinion, we have 5 immediate needs, and West Fremont 14, whatever that one is one of them. Lakeview, North Park, Bearville Middle, and Spotsylvania Middle. Those are the 5 that need to be addressed in the coming years at some level. And again, it's going to take a GeoBond at some point to do some of those big projects. I mean, just right now, the estimate for to replace Lakeview and North Park is $80 million, and if you're going to replace the 2 middle schools, that's $140. So that's $220 with just those 4 projects, and that's not going to be done ever with a private loan. It's not going to be done with a lease revenue bond. We'd have to take a GeoBond, so that's going to take some time until the community is going to be okay with something that large, or you have GeoBonds on top of each other potentially. And I think that's going to take a lot of community input and feelings for that. So even though I'm over secondary, I can put away the 9-12, 6-8. Things are always happening where I'm like, ooh, that would be really nice if that was there. However, I do believe, like Heidi Joe and Steve and what many of you said, that we do have to deal with West Tremont 14 and Discovery. It doesn't address Lakeview, it still gives it to 4 projects, but it does address overcrowdedness. There's not an overcrowdedness issue necessarily, although we have portables at the secondary level. We'll be able to just manage that, and with all those extra portables, we'll sell some, and we'll keep some for those needs as they come up, as we have to kind of extend the life of things. But I am a big proponent of having been the middle school principal at Boxell Middle School. We have to do something about securing that festival. It always made me nervous that anybody could walk in and go right and have access to lots of kids. Go left, don't even go in the office. And so from a security standpoint, our 3 largest schools, Boxell High, Veriber High, and Boxell Middle, they all deserve to have a secured festival. We know we've got lots of doors. We can kind of manage that the best we can, but I would like to see some of the $9.2 million go to that as just a priority for safety for our kids.
Is there a reason we can't move forward with elementary schools with the loan and still keep the reserve bond on the ballot for the high schools?
There's no reason. We could, if it were this, that's it. That was lower, it'll be spread on the amount.
I think from our surveys and most of what we've heard from the community is that they understand the need for an elementary school. So I think if we move forward with that, I think the community would support that. And then we put on the ballot the remaining project.
Just, this is good discussion, I wish we had 30 more minutes. Clay, David, do either of you have more information for us, anything you want to, we're hoping this gets done tonight, so if you have anything else you want to say, this is.
Are you talking about the turf, or are you
Yes, we're talking about the $500,000 donation and the match to that.
Well, my 2 cents on that is this, is we have the money given to us, it was originally given for baseball. Softball was going to be taken care of in another area, but that's changed, and I understand why it's changed. The reality is going to come is that, we're obviously requesting the board, there's a policy that says we can ask for a match, and that's going to be for you to determine. We could just take that money and move forward and do just the baseball field as it was intended. That does create a challenge for you as a board. If you get a Title I challenge, it's going to expand more. I think it'll end up costing a significant amount there. However, I'm not in favor as a community member as well as a principal turning $500,000 down when we can upgrade a facility that we're not going to have the money for probably for a long time, as far as that goes. And so that's obviously for you to decide whether you match that or not. I can't make that decision. I'm just here to request that based on the situation that we're going to be given that donation.
And I would just say the same thing. I think that donation was extremely generous, and you double your money on the investment with that. You gave it 2-for-1, which doesn't happen very often. And I think, if history tells us anything with football field, at least at Bear High School, I know we quadrupled the amount of people that use that facility since we did that, and I think that can happen with both baseball and softball fields, which then turns around and benefits our community members.
Huge trend. Corey, you're our facilities guy. We got the worst news ever this week. Best news for you, worst news for us. I feel like we've come to the end of that for this past couple of years. You've worked so hard for us, and thanks for all you do. But do you have something you want to say about any of this? Do you have anything to add to this discussion?
Probably nothing that hasn't already been said. When you're talking about portables, it's just a short-term band-aid because it doesn't address any of the infrastructure. It only overtaxes the prep times. It doesn't add restroom space. It doesn't add cafeteria space. It doesn't add restroom space. And so the more portables we add, just overtaxes the main buildings more and more.
20th. So we have the week before spring break, right?
Yes.
To go over, to vet those applications. And then there will be spring break. We can think about it, whatever you want to do in that break. But then the first Monday and Tuesday of April, or no, after spring break, the 6th and 7th, we will need to be meeting to do interviews. So be thinking about those dates, right? The 20th is a Friday, and we would have that next week to look over applications and decide who we're going to interview. And then interviews would happen that Monday, Tuesday before someone is appointed.
The board meeting.
Board meeting on Wednesday.
This is where they're due, it's on the 20th. And then you got this week to decide, and it'd be nice, I think, to call and get appointments set up for, as you said, we have spring break there. But then you want to try to do it, this is board meeting day on the 8th. You want to try to do it those 2 days right there.
I would rather try to get first round interviews all done on one day, and then if we feel the need for a second round of interviews for a few people, that would be on the second. Or is that
The
back?
6th and 7th.
Back to
Ask
back.
people to come back to back if they're looking for.
It's not absolutely critical that you have that day. You could call board could call a virtual meeting for the 9th, the 12th, the 13th, 14th, and, have it online. I know that would be good. Or have a short meeting to approve the
What's the process? I haven't been in interview process. How is typically second interviews?
I never, in my 3 jobs, I never had a second interview.
Okay.
But I know some bigger districts, I think they do.
One of the things that we've done the last couple of times is that when we kind of have 1 or 2 candidates, then we actually go to the community where they are and get input from community members and.
We should do that again.
We've
never interviewed twice.
That's why I was just wondering, like, timeline, like, if we're, I know we're going to interview and then narrow it and then visit, like.
Well, then is it too much of a rush to do interviews on Friday before spring break?
Yeah.
And then do like visit communities or reference calling on the 6th and 7th?
Another part of the interviews that we've done in the past, I think Brian can speak to this, is we actually use some of our community leaders. I know we've used people from the chamber and have them come in and kind of do the first interviews and give not in person, we look at all the applications.
Yeah, I think we talked about that. We picked a couple of individuals to go over all the resumes and everything and get their input. I think we did have a couple of individuals reach our area.
There has been in the past, I think people know when they put in their application, the superintendent, he'll look into it.
I just wondering if we're allowed to send someone's resume to someone who's outside the district and is bound by our privacy and oath. That's what my concern. Would anyone be an applicant?
I know the letters of reference are protected, but I don't think the application of the resume.
So they wouldn't see the whole portfolio, they would just see the
Application.
applicants and not the letters of reference.
Because we have to send those, they have to be sent to Richard Stoll at USDA, kind of separately from,
I know when we worked with Richard before he hurt us, so I wouldn't think that would be an issue.
No, it's small community. I think it's happened where I've been before too, that the board community members do some vetting of the applicants up front, and then just, rank them, they turn them in, and that's about it, and then the board decides with that ranking. People look at it and say, I think this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever, and then just tally that up and see who, whatever,
So we've tried to go to areas that are, within Utah, very close, but like one of our finalists last time was from Wyoming, and that was really hard. But we contacted individuals in that district. I remember contacting someone, fortunately, in the fourth year, I knew, and she worked with him at that time. We had those conversations, so.
Thank you. We need to tell you right now, we're taking in a little bit of cover out.
I guess just leave them in here for after.
I know, I was gonna say.